how to change your cancel rate. We talked about cancel 2 weeks ago. I was on a kick with that because someone called and said they need help with cancels. It was a great conversation because they got it pretty quickly. They didn't call and say, look, I need help changing my cancels at the time of cancels. They said, I got to change something, right? And gave me some numbers. And, here's one big thing about cancels I want to throw out before we start talking about cancel rate. For the last 23 years of my life, everybody has been trying to get cancels to zero. And that is an unachievable, stupid, unrealistic goal to work towards. You will never have a zero cancel rate. Life does not allow it. Kids, weather, car, job, priorities. Remember, this battle, so here's the first thing you have to think about with cancel rate. Why do people cancel? Simple enough. Something else, this is it. Something else got a larger priority than you did at that slot in time that they were scheduled. Sick kid? Sure. Business meeting? Boss in town? Sure. Whatever that priority was, or whatever the choice was, because they have a choice, it's still a choice. Still a choice, right? If you're not a single parent, you call the other parent. I need you to pick up the kid. I got physio. The boss is in town just for now. Well, can we meet an hour later? I don't know. These are the choices and priorities people have to choose when they call to cancel. So people are making choices when they call to cancel, when they cancel on you. By the way, we're not talking about no-shows. No-shows should be zero. Nobody should ever no-show. And when people no-show, that's on you. It's on you that they didn't call to cancel. That's on you. You gave them zero to value. You gave them zero reason to believe they needed to contact you. I'm not saying their reason for no-showing is on you. I'm saying the fact they didn't even contact you is you gave them no reason, and I'll go over this real quick, right? Your no-show rate should be 0%. Your cancel rate, run about 5-6%. And you should budget for that. It's a business expense. So a 5% vacancy rate at the end of the year should be expected. 6%. I mean, 6% of all the total visits in a calendar year were not met. Now, if you have a long wait list, you can get that down further. But if you got a long wait list and you're filling that in, I'm saying hire more staff because you're losing money. And this is for a whole nother talk. People pride themselves on these long wait lists. I'm like, you pride yourself on losing money in your business and denying care? Maybe not denying care, but withholding care? Not accommodating people? This wait list thing is a whole nother conversation too. But if you have a wait list, you could possibly get that vacancy rate below 5 and 6% by the end of the year. But I would argue you should have had more staff there to treat those people, because ultimately that's lost care. Lost successful patients means lost business. You should always strive for 0 no-shows. And what I share with you today will bring you to 0 no-shows. And you should strive for about a 5 to 6% cancel rate. And we're not going to get into cancel versus reschedule and how you define these people. Yet you must define it first. Because really, anybody who doesn't show for their 3 o'clock tomorrow cancels. And everybody says, well, I mark them as a reschedule if they reschedule in the same week. Sure, for business purposes, for plan of care purposes, but they still cancel the slot. And you still need to track that. Because even when someone, reschedules with you 5 times during a plan of care, they still called and canceled 5 times. So there needs to be a conversation with them. It's not good for them. It's not good for you. Ultimately, the conversation with them is, it's not good for you. To keep doing that. It's not good. Let's find a time when you can get here. Because these times we're scheduling are not working for you. So, again, you got to define what a cancel is. You got to define what a reschedule is. No-show is easily defined. They didn't show up. They didn't call. And then you got to track it. So the key is, how do I get those calls to cancel down? It's interesting because this proliferation of this out-of-network world, and cash world, which coincided with increasing deductibles, increasing copays and everything else. So it coincided with this awareness on the consumer side, on the client side, that they were going to be paying more. And magically some of these out-of-network clinics and these out-of-pocket, what you guys call cash PT, which I don't like that term because everybody's a cash PT. These out-of-pocket clinics where people are not using insurance or getting reimbursement for the insurance later have figured this out, some because they worked on it, some because they stumbled into it. The majority, they stumbled into it because I have conversations with these people. And I get it. I stumbled into most of this shit. Don't get me wrong. I didn't know why things were happening. And so this conversation I'm going to share with you and this understanding of what needs to happen before people arrive, a lot of the out-of-network and out-of-pocket clinics grabbed onto early because they knew they had to share value and start building trust and start managing and setting expectations. Two things right there. Prior to patient arrival, prior to a potential patient arrival, right? So I just told you what you need to do. And what you need to do, yet again, on that first phone call is start to build some trust. Build it, start to build that alliance, that team alliance, I call it. And then you need to, these go hand in hand. I separate them out, yet every time I talk about trust, I talk about you build trust by managing and setting expectations and delivering on them. So they go hand in hand. And where's all this come from? The research, the alliance research, the therapeutic alliance research. Yet I say it can be applied to the team, so I call it the team alliance. You take that research and apply it to the team further upstream. And then you look at the managing and setting expectations research by Bishop, Boloski, Cleland, and you start going, this is more than just the provider in front of the patient and potential patient. Could be a discovery visit. So you need to understand that there is a phase in this patient's journey where you have a huge opportunity to leverage the time between the day they called the schedule and their actual arrival date. Easily the most misunderstood, most undervalued, most least leveraged phase in all of the client's journey. Most clinics schedule someone, hang up, and wait for them to arrive. I'm like, what are you going to do for those 2 weeks? Because what you're going to do when they arrive, so get ready, is you're going to depend on the provider to start to build trust, to now manage and set expectations. And I'm like, you could have been doing that for the last 7 days, 5 days, 10 days, 14 days, and had them arrive with more trust, with expectations that were set and delivered on even prior to arrival, and expectations that were set about what was going to happen on arrival day and during the evaluation that are then delivered. And things like the cancel policy being shared on the first phone call. Now, here's the kicker. Most of you are nodding your head and go, we share it. We tell everybody there's a fee for canceling. How does that build trust? So remember, I told you managing and setting expectations have to lead to trust. And I'm just going to let this float out there. I'm not going to use personal examples because I got too many of them. But think about you and your significant other. You set an expectation that you'll be home at 3 a.m. because you're doing all these things. And you come home at 3 a.m. after doing all those things. I'm not sure the fact that you set those expectations and then delivered on them moved the trust factor forward much at all. But that's for someone else's podcast to go over. But it's the same thing. So me telling you there is a fee associated with canceling now drives me down a path of making financial decisions about canceling. So let's say this is the first phone call. You get me scheduled, and so you say, look, I'm going to start managing and setting expectations today. And so you start telling people that we have a cancel policy, and it's $50 if you don't give us 24 hours notice. So now I know your cancel policy. But now it's a financial decision. Trust. Not a lot of trust. Again, it's built around financial reasons. And basically financial reasons, by the way, you just told me that the financial policy is based on me, the business. So what? I don't care about your business. I care about me. So every time I go to cancel, I'm making a business, a financial decision for you based on your business. Okay. So again, sick kid. Shit, they woke up sick. My appointment's today at 10. Okay, well, I'll call and cancel or reschedule even, and they'll charge me $50. I got to do it. A lot of trust being built? Probably not. Boss shows up in the office. The examples I gave you. Came in from out of town, called an emergency meeting. It takes a priority today over physio. And you're going to charge me $50. Not building trust, not building a relationship, not doing something that's going to, right, build an alliance with me of someone I want to put my time, money, and energy into. I mean, it is what it is. So check this out. So there's a lot of overlap here because I told you manage and set expectations, and now I just told you that is not going to work. So again, this is what I like about managing and setting expectations, tying into building an alliance, building trust, increasing this right here. And by the way, not with the provider, with the whole team. We're all here for you. We're all here for you. And here we go. This is how we manage and set expectations on the first phone call. So your schedule. So let me fast forward. I answered the phone. You called to schedule physiotherapy with me and my team. And I say, the last name I say, so Dalen. Now, mind you, during this call, I got your goals and I told you who your provider is. So I say, so Dalen, you're scheduled with Dr. Bill Smith. And he's the right person to get you back to playing 18 holes of golf and picking up your child pain-free. So I want to also make sure you are aware of our cancellation policy here. Because we here at ABC, look, I'm going to acknowledge this right now. We here at ABC Physiotherapy know that priorities and things, life get in the way. And so all we ask of you is to call 24 hours in advance to what? To reschedule your appointment. I don't talk about cancels. I said there's a cancel policy, but I'm not going to mention cancels anymore. I say so that we can reschedule you. Because why? Because why? Because why is it important, people? It's not a financial decision. Because when you meet with Dr. Bill Smith and you come up with your plan of care, it's going to be important that you adhere to this plan of care in order to get back to your 18 holes of golf and picking up your grandchild pain-free. So all we ask of you is we will value your time. And when you're here, it's all about you, right? So we value your time. So we ask that you just give us 24 hours notice to get any appointments rescheduled when there are other priorities that come up in your life. Now, mind you, this just came at the end of the call where I got your story, where I made it about your goals, where I managed and set expectations, where I gave you social proof, where I gave you individual proof, where I promised to get you your cost. And at the end of that, I told you about our cancel policy and what's important to whom? To you to get better. So canceling and rescheduling will affect you and your world, you and your recovery, you and your journey back to your goals. That had zero to do with me. Zero to do with me. I shared this week on my Insta story. I found some old notes. It was like everything we do with the front desk training program has nothing to do with scripts and changing your world at the front desk. It has everything to do with taking the conversations you need to have and flipping them to be about the person on the other end of the phone and not the business. When I do my secret callers, so there you go, everybody. That's what you have to do. Make the cancels about them, their plan of care, and their goals. Now, I told you earlier, you need to track this stuff. So when someone does cancel, or they call late, or they start to reschedule, you guys need to decide as a business how many you're going to tolerate. Because remember, you're going to build in 5-6%. So maybe you say everybody gets 1 or 2. Then who has the discussion? Here, this will cause more fucking argument. This will cause more grief in a room full of business owners than any other question. Who then owns the conversation when this person starts canceling and rescheduling more? Who is the relationship with? Who is it important to? It's important to the patient. So who makes the phone call? Are you listening? The provider, not the front desk person. That's not their role on the team. The role on the team is to set the provider and the patient up for success. When that person arrives and meets and goes through their evaluation, the relationship is now owned by the provider. And you will give me 30 fucking reasons why your providers can't call people, and none of them are legit. Zero. Your provider owns the relationship. If we want to continue this conversation and we want buy-in to a completed plan of care and we want people to be successful, then we must adhere to the journey and the process. And if magically it's going to be all about you on the first phone call and then you dump it on your freaking front desk to call people when they're not valuing their time with the provider, you are setting your team, the team, up for failure. A football team, I say this all the time. You don't hand the ball off to the freaking guard. You have everybody perform at their highest level at their top skills, right? That's why you have different positions. You get people that are really good at those positions and you leverage all of them when the time is needed. And some people are a little more crossover, but some people, man, stay in your lane. So when it's time to have the conversation, that's on the provider. Hey, Dalen, I know we shared with you the cancel policy, and I know we've rescheduled you a couple times. Yet, this is getting to be an issue with what? Not, it has nothing to do with my fucking schedule, people. It has everything to do with you. So, Dalen, we need to have a talk about how I can get you here at the times that are best for you. So do we need to talk about scheduling another time? Do we need to talk about, looking at your plan of care and what your goals are and see how we're going to achieve this in the timely manner? Because I would say this, by the way, because you have shown up here and you are giving your money to me in this business, and the burden is on me to help you get there. And now I'm having difficulty doing this because I need you to be here. How many providers are willing to have that fucking conversation? Not many. Not many. I've been around this great country of ours. There aren't many. But man, that is all about you. You. I need you here. This is how you get your cancel rate down. Everything. I've shared this with you guys. So let's reflect back. Everything revolves around a completed plan of care. The front desk is doing their job to get you and move you, the patient, down the path to a completed plan of care. It's now the provider's turn to get completed plan of care. That means I need you to commit. I need you to do the work. I need you to be here. And if you can't, we need to have that conversation. Because I'm going to do what's best for you. And if you can't get here, I'm going to do what's best for you. So yeah, that's where we are. That's how your front desk. When we did this, let me give you a brief story, and I'm running over today. When we implemented, and by the way, I told you how I stumbled into all this shit. I said this at the beginning. I'm not sitting here telling you because magically I went, if we change the first phone call, all our business metrics will be down. We changed our first phone conversation to deal with a billing issue. 3 months later, my cancel rate went from about 13 to 15% down to 6%. I had no idea. No idea. And I went back and started checking off boxes. What did we change? What didn't we change? There was only one thing we changed. And after evaluating it for a few months, I realized that the conversation was doing exactly with what I just shared with you. We were managing and setting expectations earlier in the client's journey and getting them to understand their role and what was needed to be done for them to be successful to achieve their desired outcomes, their goals. So again, if you put that all on the provider in a 30-minute, 45, 60-minute session, you will fail. Those are the drop-offs. So all this stuff rolls together. The best way to get your cancel down is to get rid of the drop-offs. Best way to get rid of the drop-offs is the way I just told you, is to manage everybody like that. And I put cancels on here because I knew everybody would show up and want to know how to change their cancel. Cancel is a metric I'm not looking at in 2020 because it's so deep in the weeds and it's such a tell of so many other problems. You're trying to solve the wrong problem. Everybody with a high cancel rate has a lot of drop-offs. So what's the issue? The cancels or the drop-offs? It's the drop-offs. But here's the good news. because you hung out for an extra 5 minutes today and you sat through this whole thing. This same exact scenario will get rid of your drop-offs. There's a secret. I got you here by telling you cancels. But the good news is you won't need to look at cancels anymore. Because why? Because when you follow this process and you understand the process and you understand the journey that your patient's on, their life cycle, and what each team member brings to this journey in completing a plan of care, then you will have more people who arrive, who pay, who stay, and do your marketing for you. It's that simple. It's not easy. It's that simple. So the deal here is to make sure that you make it about them, not you. If you have their goals, if you've shared with them who their provider is, if you've shared with them the policy around canceling and why it's important to them and their plan of care to reach those desired outcomes they told you about, then we got a whole new ball game here, people. This is not the same ball game. And somehow, some way, I want to bring James Harden into this as a bad example, but it's probably not the time and place to do it. Steph Curry, sorry. James Harden is when you put everything on the provider. And then what do? You bring in another rock star provider, Westbrook. They'll never win. 2 rock star providers with a shitty team. There's your analogy today. They'll never win. They'll be MVPs all the time. They'll never win. The team approach started earlier. Your cancels are fixed before people arrive. Your drop-offs are fixed before people arrive. Your providers will deliver. Take some of that pressure, take some of that burden off of them, and let them be the provider they went to school to be. And by the way, this is a burnout talk too. Don't make them the ultimate salesman. They're salesmen, salespeople. Same man as in the greater mankind. Figure out how to leverage the front desk. We even talk about, and I work on how to leverage your billing team. So if and when there's a billing issue, managing and setting expectations, that surprise bill they get, there's no surprise. They knew it might show up. They call your billing team because your billing team has said, we're here to help you. There's no such thing as customer service training. Managing and setting expectations is patient experience, is managing a patient's life cycle and building up the patient experience you want. Customer service training is waiting for something bad to happen and not figuring out how to address it. That's why you have a customer service department. That's why you do customer service training, because you don't know how to prevent the problems. This is my favorite shit. And I'm getting ready to do more of this. I'm actually flying out to California on Sunday to spend 2 days in a clinic. To do what? Look at this patient life cycle, look at the experience, and then connect the teams. I've had some great conversations with the people out there. The teams, there are parts of the team, there are teams that are doing what they need to do, and there are other parts of the team knowing they need just a little more work, and that's what we're doing. So it's like bringing, right? I love this analogy because it's like there's an offensive line coach, there's a wide receiver running back coach and quarterback coach, right? So you get all these coaches and the team, the specialists for the teams, and then what do? This is my favorite thing. You bring the team together. So there's still a head coach, right? So each coach for each area brings their expertise. The provider, the clinical side. Not me. I've scripted out. I've checklisted out the conversation that the providers need to have to continue the conversation that started at the front desk. But I don't do the clinical training. I connect it. I'll show you the conversations to be had. So you need your coaches for each area. And again, connecting it. And that's what you do. People break up. The offensive linemen go over here, the quarterbacks, running backs, receivers go over here, blah, blah, blah. And then everybody comes together and they execute. And if you give me 7 more minutes, you win the Super Bowl like my 49ers should have. I'm not mentioning the other team. So, that's it. This is my shit. Just love this shit. And this is how you will create more success for your clients, which in turn does what? Leads to more business success. Business success will come through patient success. There's no business on the face of the earth that was successful because they fell, if they're not. were successful without dealing with their clients. Go to my fucking last Twitter post. Go to Twitter right now. Just Twitter Jerry Durham or search Jerry Durham. My last post. You tell me how well those people delivered. I will never do business with them again. And then go look at my post about pods. I had a pods moving thing. It couldn't have been better. And you want to talk about having teams aligned? I dealt with 5 different people. I dealt with drivers. I dealt with call center people. I dealt with drivers in different states. They were so dialed in. And the beauty was, like I'm telling you guys, the person I was talking to knows what was promised to me. I was promised a phone call a half an hour before they arrived. Every fucking time they called me. I was promised an email by 6 o'clock, an email and text. I got an email and text. I was promised a 3-hour window. They gave me the 3-hour window. I mean, they couldn't have done it any better. I was promised they needed this much space. That's all they needed. They nailed it, man. Pods killed it. And then go look at my other tweet. Can't find a goddamn phone number on the fucking business page. I'm done doing business with people like that. By the way, you will find my cell phone number. I have had people contact me this week. So I saw your cell number on your website. That's it. All right. I appreciate you guys all coming.